Edinburgh, a city steeped in beauty, history, and secrets. On the morning of May 4th, 2010, a woman left home like it was any other Tuesday morning. She got the bus, picked up breakfast, texted her mum, then walked towards the office she knew like the back of her hand. She never made it to her desk. No one heard a scream, no one saw a struggle, and no one has seen her since. But someone knew exactly what happened, and he said nothing. This is a story about the cracks behind a calm face, about a trail that stretched from the heart of Edinburgh to the edge of the Highlands, and about a family still waiting for the one answer that matters most. Where is Suzanne Pilley? This isn't just a mystery, it's a secret someone took great care to bury. But some things don't stay buried forever. Welcome to Unveiled Crime Mysteries channel, where I unveil mysterious true crimes, some lost to time, others fresh in memory. Justice might not be served, but the shadow is unveiled. Today we are going to Edinburgh, Scotland's capital, historic, bustling, and in 2010, the backdrop to a case that would grip the nation. That's where we meet Suzanne Pilley. She's 38, a woman full of life, always on the go. She was incredibly close to her parents. They spoke every day, often more than once. She didn't just love them, she leaned on them. They were her anchor. To her friends, Suzanne was solid, reliable, always ready for a laugh, always game for a night out. She read constantly, joined book clubs, showed up for pub quizzes, and went to festivals when she could. But she also gave back. Charity work and volunteering were part of her routine. You could count on her to help out, no matter the cause. In 2004, she married Peter Durand, a longtime friend, in a whirlwind Vegas ceremony. It didn't last. They split in 2008, but stayed mates. No bitterness, just history. What followed wasn't easy. A string of bad relationships. The man she was engaged to turned out to be using cocaine. She walked. Another relationship turned violent. She moved homes a lot during this time, trying to find peace again. Eventually, she landed a job she liked, a bookkeeper at a firm called Infrastructure Managers Limited. She looked after payroll and accounts. Quiet work, but important. Her co-workers said she was faultless, never late, never missed a day, and very good at her job. Tuesday, May 4th, 2010. Suzanne left her flat on Whitson Road at 8:19 a.m. Her commute was routine. First, the number 2 bus, then the number 4 at Stevenson Drive. She wore a large blue-purple coat, carried a shoulder bag, held a bottle of water. She stood out. At 8:49 a.m. she got off. From there it was a short walk. Like most mornings, she stopped at Sainsbury's to grab breakfast. Nothing unusual. She paid, sent her dad a quick text, then messaged her mum to say thanks for feeding Mercury, her cat. Suzanne had stayed the night with her new boyfriend, Mark. She started walking to her office on Thistle Street. She never got there. When she didn't show up, her co-workers noticed straight away. Suzanne didn't do late. She didn't do no-shows. They rang her parents. The feeling in everyone's gut was the same. Something was wrong. By 8 p.m. that night, she was reported missing. Back at her flat, nothing looked out of place. Her passport was still there, her cash, her meds. No signs she'd gone anywhere. Her bank accounts hadn't been touched. The cat and the fish were a big worry. Her mum had looked after Mercury the night before, but Suzanne hadn't arranged for anyone to do it again. That wasn't like her. She never left things half done. This wasn't a disappearance. It was something else, something deliberate. Police pulled CCTV from all over the area, 84 different cameras. They found her in several clips. There's even a shot just seconds before she would have entered her building. But after that, nothing. Not one more image. No security cameras inside the office either. It was like she vanished on the spot. CCTV confirmed her route that morning.
Suzanne was captured on CCTV on May the 4th, 2010, boarding a bus. She then bought some lunch in a local Sainsbury's before walking along Thistle Street to work.
By the next morning, officers were already inside her flat, her workplace, and the shops nearby, trying to piece it together. One thing stood out. A taxi had briefly pulled up near where Suzanne was last seen, just 5 minutes before her shift. The driver wasn't a suspect, but they wondered if he'd noticed something. He hadn't. No one had. So they went back to square one. Her life, the people in it. They learned she'd been seeing a man called Mark. He'd spent the night with her before she vanished, but he was quickly ruled out. Then police discovered something else. Suzanne had been in an on-off affair with a colleague at work. His name was David Gilroy. He'd once served in the Royal Navy, 10 years, made it to Chief Petty Officer. Now he was the regional operations manager at the same company where Suzanne worked. but David was married, 2 kids. He'd separated from his wife Andrea for a while and moved in with Suzanne. It didn't last. The relationship was rocky. People described it as intense, unstable. Her ex-husband Peter recalled Suzanne saying she'd started seeing someone, but never gave a name. I was a bit surprised she got involved with someone who was married, because that wasn't the kind of thing she would do. But I can see how Suzanne might have been involved. She tended to buy right into things. When something came up which she wanted, she would be committed to it. On May 6th, David Gilroy was brought in for questioning. 11 hours. He admitted the relationship, said it ended for good in December 2009. He'd gone back to his wife, said Suzanne had moved on too. But the police noticed something else. Scratches. On his arms, on his hands, and he'd tried to cover them with makeup. That same day, he showed up to work late. Colleagues noticed he wasn't himself. He was sweating, shaking, his eyes glazed over, pupils wide, and yes, a few people spotted the scratches too. Then, in the middle of the search for Suzanne, David called police, but not to talk about her. He reported a break-in, said someone came into his house while he and his wife slept, took only his phone and laptop, said they heard a noise downstairs, found the back door smashed in. Police were skeptical. The timing was strange. Days after Suzanne vanishes, suddenly his devices vanish too. And why just those items? Nothing else touched, nothing else taken. They didn't have David's phone, but they had Suzanne's. They pulled the data, and what they found was telling. Suzanne had messaged David to end things, told him about Mark, said it was over. She even told a friend. I feel like he's gotten the hint. But the weekend before she disappeared, she saw David again. He wasn't letting go. He'd sent her hundreds of messages, 64 in a single day. May 3rd, the day before she vanished, David sent 15 texts, left a voicemail. One of the messages read, "I will always love you." Then nothing. Not a single text or call after May 4th. Before that, barely an hour went by without him contacting her. After that, silence. Those close to the couple said their relationship had always been fiery, messy, full of highs and lows. But what stuck out was David's behavior, controlling, possessive, sometimes aggressive. Not long before Christmas, Suzanne changed the locks on her door. A few weeks before she disappeared, David hacked into her emails. He'd thrown her belongings out of a kitchen window. He'd stolen her phone. 2 weeks passed. Still no sign of Suzanne. Then police confirmed it. This was now a murder investigation.
Suzanne had been reported missing by her parents on the last day she was seen. Just over 2 weeks later, the police released a statement saying they were now treating her disappearance as a murder investigation. The next day, a search of the Argyll area was launched, spanning an area of 400 miles, as detectives leading the inquiry at the time appealed for information.
By now, investigators were watching every second of CCTV, 250 cameras, a 20-person team. They started building a timeline of David's movements. He was the only suspect. They needed to track everything, his steps, his choices, his cover. What they saw told them all they needed. David hadn't accepted the breakup. He couldn't let go, so he planned to confront her face to face on the morning of May 4th. He dropped off his daughter at school, then caught the bus into Edinburgh, arrived at Thistle Street by 8:36 a.m., logged into his work computer at 8:40, and then he waited. When he saw Suzanne walking toward the office, he approached. He got her to follow him into the underground car park. What happened next, police believe, turned violent. A heated argument, a loss of control. They think David killed Suzanne right there, most likely by strangulation. He dragged her body into the stairwell. Then, just after 9:15 a.m., he walked into the office as if nothing had happened. Colleagues noticed straight away something was off. Despite taking the bus to work, he suddenly made excuses, said he needed to go home, said he had to collect his car. Before leaving, he rescheduled a work meeting. It had been set for the end of the week. He moved it forward to the next day. The meeting was 130 miles away, in a remote part of Argyll. He was supposed to go with a colleague. He told them not to bother. It was pointless. It made no sense, but it was part of the plan. Security footage caught him buying 4 cans of air freshener. Then he got a taxi to his mum's. She drove him to his house. From there he picked up his car and returned to the office. He visited the car park several times. At some point, he moved Suzanne's body into the boot of his car. That evening, he sat through a school concert, ate dinner out with his wife and kids, all while Suzanne's body lay just outside in the car on their driveway. The next day, he drove to Lochgilphead for the rescheduled meeting. He arrived at 4:30 p.m., but here's the problem. He left home at 11:30 a.m. There was a 2-hour stretch of time that couldn't be accounted for. The journey back was just as strange. His fuel use was abnormally high. A portion of the route meant to take less than 40 minutes took nearly 2 hours. Detectives believed that during these missing 5 hours, he dumped Suzanne's body. On his way back to Edinburgh, he turned his phone off, stopped briefly for petrol, continued home. When police eventually examined his car, they noticed something small but telling. An umbrella, usually left on the back shelf, had been moved. It was now in the boot. They brought in cadaver dogs. No blood, no DNA, but the dogs picked up a scent. 3 alerts, 1 in the car park, 2 in the boot of David's Vauxhall Vectra. There was also a strong chemical smell coming from the vehicle. Tests confirmed it. He'd used heavy cleaning products. Forensics revealed the car's suspension and springs had been damaged. The undercarriage was full of forest debris. It had been driven over rough, uneven ground. Police believed he'd been deep in woodland. A public appeal was launched.
We're appealing today for the sightings of around the movement of a vehicle. We're appealing to anyone who may have seen a vehicle on unclassified roads parked up a forestry track or just off the road, and the vehicle we're looking for is a silver family saloon. I'm not asking, or I don't expect anyone to be able to give me any great detail about the vehicle, registration numbers, such. What's important to me is the sighting. It's the location of where that vehicle is parked. Suzanne was undertaking a normal journey to work on the 4th. Everything about the journey was normal. I've spoken to our parents today and we've discussed the progress of our investigation and that we're coming through here to the Argyll Forest. We're satisfied that for the progress of the investigation, and today I'm asking people, think about the circumstances, think about any sightings you have of a vehicle which may be unattended. There may be a single man within the vehicle, maybe standing around looking. Tell us about where that was. Suzanne's family have feared the worst, really, from the very word go. And so we've discussed with them this morning, and it's clearly they're very, very devastated. And this is it's not the news that they would want to hear, but nevertheless, they're supporting us.
A month after she vanished, David Gilroy, 47 years old, was officially charged with murder. He was also charged with breach of the peace, but he was released on bail. There were other charges too: assaulting his wife, making threats toward his children, attacking a man outside Suzanne's flat. All of those charges were later dropped. Still, his family stood by him. His wife defended him. They claimed it was Suzanne who wouldn't let go, that he had ended it, that she was obsessed, but police knew where to look, because of his strange route, because of the damage to his car, because of everything he had done. Most of the searches now focused on Argyll Forest Park. That's where he'd booked that last-minute meeting. That's where he'd driven. It made sense to believe she was buried somewhere in that massive wilderness, but the terrain was brutal. 400 square miles of forest and mountain, steep hills, sharp cliffs, dense trees and dark endless paths. Search teams went over it again and again. Nothing.
Rugged beauty of the Scottish Highlands. Police have the mammoth task of searching this huge area of mountain and forest for the remains of Suzanne Pilley. The 38-year-old bookkeeper went missing 3 months ago. Relatives like Suzanne's father, Robert, are hoping a widening of the search operation this weekend will finally discover her last resting place.
I often feel that if I could put a closure to it, that maybe the grieving would be a lot better, But it's just one of these things that you never seem to be able to get to the end of it. You just got to take it day by day.
Volunteers and mountain rescue teams are set to join police who've already carried out an extensive search to no avail. A 47-year-old man from Edinburgh has been charged with Suzanne's murder.
By now, police had spoken to 1,500 witnesses, taken over 1,000 statements. No Suzanne. The Crown Office put 3 full-time prosecutors on the case. It was rare and incredibly difficult. A murder trial without a body, no forensics, no DNA. Everything rested on circumstantial evidence. David pled not guilty. In February 2012, the trial began. He didn't testify. The district procurator fiscal laid it out in court. All his actions before she disappeared and his actions after her disappearance shows she was murdered by him. David Gilroy was a deceitful and controlling individual who pestered Suzanne with hundreds of messages and then killed her when she told him their affair was over. The calculated steps he took in the minutes, hours and days after her death to cover up his crime and maintain a front of normality reveals a cold and calculating personality. Andrea, David's wife, was listed as a Crown witness, but she had the right not to testify, and she took it. She stepped down. The courtroom saw it all. CCTV, phone records, forensics. They even brought in an expert who confirmed the scratches and bruises on David's body were exactly where someone would claw and grab if they were being strangled and trying to fight him off.
The former partner of Edinburgh woman Suzanne Pilley has been found guilty of her murder. David Gilroy always denied the charge. Detective Superintendent Gary Flanagan says it was a complex case to investigate.
The fact that we were looking at something which happened in the city centre of Edinburgh and travelled over to the other side of Scotland, meant that we were looking at clearly a much bigger investigation. The CCTV was the backbone of everything else that we were able to do. So clearly it was significant. But the CCTV corroborated, if you like, it added weight to all the other investigations that we were able to carry out. So in a circumstantial case, it's a significant part.
It's believed Suzanne's body is buried in Argyll. However, despite extensive searches, she's never been found.
We've conducted over months and we've discussed with the Pilley family throughout all the different avenues that we've pursued. We've been pretty transparent with the public in terms of the areas that we've searched.
Officers insist the search for Suzanne isn't over.
We've given Rob Sylvia and Gail an assurance that any information which comes to light that gives us a glimmer of hope, then we will pursue that information with hopefully to a conclusion for them.
The parents, family and friends of Suzanne Pilley have welcomed today's verdict, but insist their fight to find her body will continue.
A verdict had been reached, but her family wasn't done, not until Suzanne came home.
For the first time in a UK criminal court, the public saw the judgment too, with the camera allowed to film the sentencing, something we could be seeing a good deal more of in the future.
In the courtroom, the judge addressed David directly.
Suzanne Pilley was obviously a respected and well-liked member of staff in Thistle Street in the office in which you and she both worked. In May 2010, she was starting a new chapter in her personal life, and that included bringing to an end her relationship with you. On the 4th of May, she set out to go to work. Then she just disappeared, and the jury were satisfied on the evidence before them that was because you murdered her and disposed of her body. On charge 6, the charge of murder, I sentence you, as I am required by law to do, to life imprisonment. I am also required to order that you serve a number of years as a punishment part of the sentence. Having regard to all the circumstances, I order that you serve a punishment part of 18 years, which will be backdated to 13 March 2012.
This statement's obviously been read on behalf of the Pilley family, and it's very much in their words. This day's been a long time coming, but finally Suzanne's received the justice she deserved. As a family, we continue to struggle to come to terms with losing her. We've lost our daughter, but her memory lives on in everyone who knew her. Suzanne was a devoted daughter, a supportive friend, and an exemplary colleague at work. She was a proud Scot who led a full and active life and enjoyed the great outdoors, always walking, cycling and keeping fit. We've been met with nothing but kindness from her many friends during this time of great sorrow. We'd like to express our gratitude to every police officer involved in the investigation and to Alec Prentice and his team for their efforts in bringing this case to a conclusion today. Although the trial has ended, our ordeal goes on, and we hope that one day we can lay our daughter to rest.
After sentencing, David Gilroy was transferred to a different prison. He'd been attacked. His jaw was broken. Later, his appeal was thrown out. The UK Supreme Court also refused to review his case. Years passed. Last month marked 4 years since Suzanne's murder. David, how many times do I have to say this? Okay, it's finished. That morning, he's been there waiting for Suzanne arriving. It was clear that Suzanne had ended the relationship. There's nothing you can say. And clear that he didn't want the relationship to be over. It's over. Justice had been done, but he felt so sad after that. She wasn't going to get back, lying somewhere and nobody knows, as if nobody loved her. The case still isn't closed. I always say that the door is just ajar. It's not fully closed yet, and that's what I'd really like to be closure on it for myself and the rest of my family. She was such a happy person. We try hard to be happy.
The investigation will never be closed until Suzanne's found.
I always say that the door's just ajar. It's not fully closed yet. And that's what I really like, to be closure on it for myself and the rest of my family.
She was such a happy person. We try hard to be happy.
David Gilroy's family later said they believed a miscarriage of justice had taken place. They held on to hope for a review, but when it finally came, it was shut down. No retrial, no reopening. In 2019, Suzanne's father, Rob, passed away. He died never knowing where his daughter was. Detective Chief Inspector Bob Williamson gave this message: "Let's bring Suzanne back to the family. They have been so strong for all this time and put up with so much grief for the past 14 years. Obviously that has caused a lot of stress, and to be able to bring Suzanne home and give her a proper funeral would be a massive, massive thing for them." In 2024, Crime Watch ran a new appeal. Suzanne's mother, Sylvia, and sister Gail are still pushing, still hoping, still searching. Suzanne has never been found. David Gilroy still refuses to say where she is. That silence might now affect his parole. A new proposal was made in Parliament, Suzanne's Law. It says that if someone refuses to say where a body is, it must be considered by the parole board, not just may, must. Retired Detective Superintendent David Swindle said, "There's been Helen's Law in England and Wales, but we've never had that here. Families deserve the best, and if Suzanne's Law is introduced, that would really make a big difference for the families. Because losing someone is hard enough, but not knowing where they are, that's a different kind of pain." Suzanne's sister Gail put it best: "We accept that Suzanne was murdered and believe that the person responsible is in prison, but we feel we cannot say a proper goodbye until her body is found. Police Scotland have vowed to follow every lead. They'll chase down anything, no matter how small, that might bring her home. Their investigation can only conclude when Suzanne is found, and so I would plead with anyone who knows something but hasn't come forward to search their conscience and get in touch, not for our sake, but for Suzanne's. Please let us give her the burial and send-off she deserves. If you've watched this far, kindly support our channel by commenting, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more real stories daily, and we'll see you next time. There's always another case to be unveiled. Remember,